fact, Bank of England has estimated 97% of the money is produced by banks. Now by demonetization, what is going to happen is that, let us assume the entire 14.5 lakh crores is deposited by people. The corrupt people, the black money people, they find a way of depositing all the money, it comes into the banking system. The unmonitored 14.5 lakh crores first gets registered who is having this money. And once this money comes into the banking system, let us assume 6.5 lakh crores goes back, or 4.5 to 6 lakh crores goes into black market again. I am not saying it will not go. Black market will be there, bribe will be there. But it will not be driven by a huge amount of cash which is circulating, because people who pay tax, people who bring it on record, would like to retain it and would not like to put the money in the black market again. So let us assume about 10 lakh crores comes into the banking system. By fractional reserve, this will go into 50 lakh crores or 60 lakh crores. Then only the money will be available to be lent to micro, small and medium industries, because the bank doesn't have the money. The large industries are able to access bank funds, they are able to access equity capital from abroad, external commercial borrowing at very nominal interest. But small and medium industries, which alone produce employment, are not able to access money, because this cash which is operating outside the banking system, printed money, on which the country is bearing inflation. Inflation is the cost which you bear for the money in circulation. Everybody pays the inflation tax. But that money is operating outside the banking system. Once you bring it into the banking system, then it multiplies. Then only you will be able to have enough money for lending to the small and medium industries. These are all medium to long-term consequences. But the short-term consequences are also there. Because this is a lecture which takes about 1 hour and 30 minutes. I'm just trying to pack it in 20-25 minutes for you. This is a lecture which I delivered in Chennai. And this is available on YouTube. My demonetization lecture. If you want to listen to it in great detail, that may be the right way of doing it, because I don't want to take much of your time. So, this asset inflation-driven, wealth effectless growth, which is dogging the economy even today, having started in 2004, the only way of stopping it is to bring the cash in. There is no other way. So long as you allow this unmonitored cash to keep on circulating in the market, there is no way by which you will be able to transfer the resources from the asset-based growth to production-based growth. And you must stop the consumption which is based on this kind of growth. I would just like to read what impact it will have on the consumption and what kind of consumption will be affected by this measure. Of course, it will affect some people in the short run, but who will be affected? On that, I am going to read out a message which a very rich man sent it to me. This was 15th November, so within a week after demonetization. It is amazing how the sense of contentment has set in so suddenly. My shopaholic mind has suddenly turned into no shopping mode. Clothes and shoes seem unimportant. The quiet seems to be peaceful. We as a country are rebooting, and I am enjoying being part of this change. Recently, my dear friend came here and spent some time, and we had a relaxing time. With money, there is always run to go loiter in markets and buy things which we don't even need most of the times. Somehow my psyche is half-holding mode suddenly. Human level evolvement much needed has been done in one go. I can tell you, I advise some of the biggest industrial groups in India. Of course, their habits have not touched me. They go and spend in a weekend 50 lakh rupees. They will buy a painting which has no meaning for 50 lakhs and bring that painting and invite all of you for a dinner, spend 10 lakh rupees to see the. And this produces GDP. This doesn't produce employment. This is what happened to the country from 2004. Which newspaper has analyzed and written it? It requires rigorous work. You cannot write on demonetization by looking at the queue. You have to write about demonetization means you have to burn. In fact, I am writing 4 articles. I have not completed it. 1 month my research still continues. So there is a shallow debate over demonetization. What are the positive effects? Cash in the bank, as I told you, by a fractional reserve system, it gets multiplied. And that is the only way by which interest rates will come down. Now, will it not affect pensioners under this? No. Inflation rate will also come down. You are having an inflation rate of 6%, an interest rate of 7.5%. It has no meaning. You must have an interest rate of 5% and inflation rate of 3%. This should be our target. Then, the kind of bribery which was being talked about in this country, 50,000 crores, 50,000, 50 crores, 70 crores, 100 crores. I am very sorry to say there are civil servants negotiating for 3 crore bribe. How long will this country stand this kind of money? An IAS officer couple in Madhya Pradesh were raided. 350 crore was the unaccounted assets found. Without this cash, it is simply impossible to do it. Next, moderation of prices. The prices will moderate, and in high-end commodities, it will moderate immediately. And in Madras, I keep on investigating what is the impact of it in the real estate sector. The CREDAI people told me, sir, our industry, building industry, is divided into 2. Those who are selling flats up to 30 lakhs are extremely happy. Those who are selling flats of 70 lakh, 80 lakh, 1 crore, 2 crore, 3 crore, they are down because much of that money is cash. Those who want to invest their cash in real estate, hold it in real estate, they don't have cash hereafter. That market has crashed. But those who are going to sell flats at 25 lakh or 30 lakh, their land prices are going to go down, and by next year they are seeing a 30% growth in housing sector. So the economy will be restructured. Resources will move to that sector where it is needed. It will move away from that sector where it is misused. Have you ever heard any of these things in newspaper analysis? One man, please raise your hand. Gold prices will moderate. In India, gold is an important item. It is also a difficult item. People want it, the government is hostile to it. But you can't have a situation like America where they banned private possession of gold, arrested people, confiscated gold in the year 1934. If it happens in India, there will be a revolution. In America, it happened. In 1934, the American government took over all the private gold and said nothing doing. The American people accepted it because they didn't have a family system. So they could go from gold into stocks, into something else, derivatives. You can't do it. So we want lower gold prices. Can you lower the gold prices? Obviously you can. You know who is driving the world gold prices? 2 countries, China and India, which import almost 60% of the world gold supply. India imports about 30%, China imports about 30%. Let us assume India does not import 30%, it imports 20%. The world gold prices will go down by 30%, 40%. So it is your demand which makes the world gold prices go up. Why is your demand going up? Between 2004, your normal gold imports of 400, 500 tons per annum, it went up to 1,000 tons per annum because of this cash. If the gold demand in India comes down, gold buying in India comes down, which is bound to be. You know what is the price of gold today before demonetization and now? It has come down by at least 12%. And when the demonetization effect is over, it is going to come down even more. Flight of capital through Hawala, cash transfers. Cash is physically transported from here outside India. That Hawala transactions will go down. Credit for SMSEs and corporates are able to access capital in India very easily because of their clout, because of the fact that they are able to bring in equity from abroad. The banks will easily give the loan part of it, and they are able to borrow at 8%, 9% interest. But small industries are borrowing at 30%, 50% interest. So a low interest, low inflation regime where the cash that is outside the banking system will go and multiply into the banking system. That is a very important paradigm shift for the Indian economy. Of course, there are issues like every family keeps cash. A soft landing part of 2.5 lakhs per person is a very, very important soft landing under Indian conditions. And the new disclosure scheme is also bound to be helpful. And the short-term cost of it is, I'm sorry, I will be closing it in the next 2-3 minutes. This unbearable discomfort to the common man. If it had been done in 2005, the discomfort would not have been even 10% of what it is today. After 5 years, you can never do it. The 17 lakh crore cash, if it becomes 30 lakh crores cash, and if 500 rupee and 1000 rupee notes become 80-90% of it, you can never do this at all. India will never be a cash-driven economy. That will be the greatest danger to the Indian economy. Ultimately, it will result in such financial chaos. And there will be reduction in consumption in the short run. For the next 3 to 4 months, the growth will be very moderate. And the challenge is, how is the Modi government to ensure finance for small and medium industries? They should have driven the Mudra finance model first. That was stopped by the Reserve Bank. If they had allowed the Mudra law to be passed, the impact of demonetization on small and medium industries will be far less than it is today. It is very unfortunate the Reserve Bank has stopped it. I'm sorry that I have been able to share only part of my thoughts because that is the time that you could afford. If you want to hear my full speech, you can go into YouTube and listen. Thank you very much. You see, black money generation occurs not because of just cash. It also occurs because of asset price inflation, which has been allowed. Now, the government has to tackle the asset price inflation. I will come to why 2000 rupee notes. This whole project had to wait and had to be executed only when the change took place in the RBI. Let's be clear about it. This is a political issue. And this had to be done in such a short time. If it is not done now, then the parliament session, then the UP election, then the budget, it is not done till April next. So the government had to take a decision now. Now they had to replace the 500 rupee note and 1000 rupee notes. To create that kind of 500 rupee note and 1000 rupee note capacity, you will need 1 year. So they decided, we will have an interim measure of 2000 rupee notes. I am not saying it's a very good decision or a clever decision, but it was an acceptable decision to tide over as a bridge. And after over a time, the bank will keep on receiving 2000 rupee notes and won't return it. And it will come a time in next couple of years, 2000 rupee notes will also go into the banking system, maybe 5-6% will be outside. And that they will ask you to exchange in the normal course. They won't go through the process of demonetization. They will remonetize 2000 rupee notes with 500 rupee notes or 250 rupee notes. India needs a printing capacity. You know, we were buying ink, we were buying paper from the same source from which Pakistan were buying. 2013. And that made it possible for those fellows to print our currency. Anyhow, any currency can be duplicated, but it takes 7 years. It doesn't happen overnight. So you must replace all the old notes every 5 years, for which you need a very high printing capacity unrelated to another person's supply source. So I think that care has been taken in 2013 because security agencies insisted on it. It's a very big subject. Actually, demonetization is not to be discussed in the shallow way in which the media is doing today. Those who are claiming to be experts, the way they are talking, it's amazing. A person associated with the HDFC, he praised demonetization on day one. Day before yesterday, he has said demonetization is wrong because the government has taken action against the bank. Thank you.
Again from media, sir, there is a criticism that it is going to affect our agriculture sector in rural areas because normally media carries that. Your opinion on that. How it is going to affect in the remote areas where banking or these digital things cannot replace hard cash?
I don't know how many of you had occasion to read. Agricultural sector immediately moved into credit model. We are a relation-based society. Demonetization could never have been done in any of the Western countries because you don't know your vegetable wala, you don't know your grocery merchant. If India's retail had been taken over by Walmart, you could never have done demonetization. Because immediately people went into credit mode. The entire mandis in Haryana, Punjab, Western Uttar Pradesh, in Maharashtra, they went into credit mode. And the traders began guaranteeing the agricultural inputs of the farmers. And the fertilizer dealers and input dealers began giving the inputs on credit. So a relation-based economy will be able to manage this. But what is needed is, in the next couple of months, you need to double, triple, or maybe make it several multiple more the 100 rupee notes. 500 rupee notes also circulates mostly in semi-urban areas. In villages, it's mostly 100 rupee notes. 90% of the people use 100 rupee notes. So the government will have to ramp up. If need be, the government should import 100 rupee notes printed outside, not 500 rupee and 1000 rupee notes, because it's a risk to take to import 500 and 1000 rupee notes. The better thing would be to import 100 rupee notes. But one thing I must understand, everybody abusing demonetization agrees with the object of demonetization. If you agree with the object of demonetization, how can you object to demonetization? Nobody can allow 87% of the currency being the high denomination notes with this high asset inflation and low employment. These are all very naked facts. It doesn't require any great research.
Yeah, sir, what will be the effect of that demonetization on the cooperative sector? Because a lot of hue and cry happening around the country nowadays.
Sir, unfortunately, the cooperative sector is controlled by politicians. They can backdate any entry. What happened with the jewelry sector will happen with the cooperative sector. Such a huge measure like this, it cannot be handled by porous retailing. You've got to be very careful in handling this, otherwise this measure will be destroyed. And I know it is a political issue, it is even a center versus state issue, but most states, including UP, where the cooperative system is most politicized, they have understood that once cooperatives are brought in, then this whole thing will be destroyed. They didn't do much. I think only in Kerala and to some extent in Maharashtra there was some problem. Otherwise elsewhere in Tamil Nadu, just a simple protest, a letter was written Otherwise, things have virtually settled down. Thank you very much. For my detailed speech, you must listen to the YouTube that gives the whole dimension. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of TMA, I request Mr. Vinod Haridas, the convener to TMA, to hand over the memento. Once again, thank you very much, sir. That was indeed a very enlightening talk.
Thank you very much. The topic of this morning is actually ease of doing business. And I will now, after this very interesting and very relevant and something which touches all of us topic, we are moving to the main topic of the day, that's ease of doing business. You know, the World Bank sometime back realized that most of the countries, or all the countries, want to grow. But many of them are hesitant to change the status quo. Many of them do not know how to put their house in order, and there's resistance to change. And normally, every government, every system defends the present system. They resist any changes. Therefore, they started finding out the best practices in the world, started listing it, and started publishing it, who is better. And that slowly caught on. Quite interesting. In 2016, when the World Bank published the data, of course they have been doing that for quite some time, I'm talking about the latest available, of the 189 countries, India ranked 130. So that more or less fortifies the argument of Mr. Guru Moorthy, how difficult it is to generate employment here, because how difficult it is to do business here in the legal way. The Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, Government of India, took it as a challenge, and they started telling all the state governments that, look, you need to change. Because in India, the system is quite unique, because most of the clearances need to be coming from the state government. Central government in this area has very limited. Day-to-day transaction for the small SME sector is mostly with the state government. So they wanted to create a spirit of competition among the state governments. And also, as Mr. Amitabh Kant, who was piloting this